Who had call your spouse for dinner plans is number one. He's not even in the room though. That's good. You got credit. Okay, good. You got video credit. I like it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now, here's the thing, folks. There are no right or wrong answers to any of these. To be honest with you, depending on how you look at these 6 items, and for those of you who didn't know what an ASCE meeting was, think of it as a professional training program. So it could be IFMA or CFMA, or maybe you go to Toastmasters. The point is, there are a lot of folks, depending on where you are in your career, you may look at that item, the ASCE meeting, that's a lot of letters there, and you will go, you know what, it sounds like a great idea, it's important for me to go get some personal networking, maybe some training, but you know what, I'm just way too busy right now. So what do? Punt till next month. But I guess the question then comes, when do I ever get unbusy? And the answer is, like most of us in the room, present company included, we probably never get unbusy. So the moral of the story is, yes, there are priorities, and you will look at them and go, that is not one right now. And if you're younger, you may go, I'll do that professional networking a little bit later. Right now, I got to focus on being the best betting associate I can be. That's great. But when do you make the push? When do you start to go, you know what? I maybe need to shed some duties if I'm going to grow. Maybe I need to make that a priority and shuffle the deck. The other thing is, the reason I kind of joked about calling your spouse, it's very important, to be honest with you. And more importantly, it's this juggling act. And if you looked at your life in terms of what I would call gas tanks. So for instance, your personal life is a gas tank. Your educational, maybe you do some stuff outside, that's a gas tank. Betting is a gas tank. You can run these kind of things that you do. And there's going to be times where work is going to require a lot more effort. And you're going to kind of have to say, well, unfortunately, I got to take from the gas tank that's my personal life to feed into the work gas tank. But we all know you got to go back and fill the other one up. You got to put money, or in this case, gas, in that other gas tank. You can't keep running everything out of one, because so many of you have already told me you're all of these things: husband, spouse, wife, worker, philanthropist, student, whatever it might be. So the moral of the story is, there are certain things that are urgent and important, but I want to make sure we also know when we have to start to make those pivots and shifts. We talked about why don't we delegate already. Obviously, having the right task for people, and obviously, if we always give the stuff that we don't like to do versus the things we shouldn't do, there's a difference there. There's probably a lot of things that, like I said, that I don't like to do. For instance, I'm trying to think of a good one. When it comes to, we have these certain reports at FMI that we have to do. They're painful. Some of it's because you have to go into the software and you gotta, it's really complicated. So my office manager, that's her task. And I'm sure she probably rues the day when she sees my emails come through. At the end of the day though, I probably shouldn't even be doing that. I should look at the output of that report. But there's also the thing, what we don't want to do is keep pouring on to where people start to go, you just give me the crap you don't want to do. I'm not saying it's ever happened to anyone in this room. There's a concept of making sure that when we delegate, we're also giving people educational opportunities. Now there are just activities that are part of their job. I get that part. Right circumstances, right person, right communication directions, and then also the right level of supervision. The other piece I'll say about delegation is this. When I think of my doctor, for instance, he's got this really fancy setup. I go into his, I'm probably paying a fortune for it, but he's got, it's part of his computer has a microphone that sticks out of it. And he'll go, okay, Gregg Schoppman, 46 years old, really fat, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, kind of like, I'm in the room, doc. But he's kind of like, he's doing this whole dictation thing. Now, here's the thing. should that doctor be sitting there typing the report of Gregg's kind of medical history and workup? No. His best and good use of his time, kind of like what we talked about in finance, the return on investment. Is his best use of time typing a report about Gregg or doing more doctor visits where he generates the most amount of revenue? And more importantly, the right talent for that. Obviously his nurse can do a certain amount, but they have medical transcription people that take that little blurb that he said about me and just pumps it into the system from there. Once again, there are things you like to do. There are also things that you need to do. Let's make sure we focus the right amount of energy on those right activities. So, the concept of what we can eliminate through delegation. One, those overly repetitive tasks. Once again, that you just go, this really, for my position or role in the organization, is probably not something I need to do. Maybe some of it is empowering people to maybe set up part of our planning. That doesn't mean they do the planning for us, and we kind of subordinate all the work on this project, but maybe the gathering of all the plans and specs for a pre-job meeting, gathering all the information for our post-job review. Now, the meat of that is the actual meeting itself, and that's the purpose why we'd be getting together. Leveraging unique capabilities. Some of you are very detail-oriented. I venture to guess my finance friends in the room are hyper-detailed, which is exactly what I want you to be. On the other hand, some of you are probably not big-picture detail-oriented. So let's get the detail-focused people doing the details. The analysis piece of it, let's have someone else do. Maybe the doing, let's have someone else do that. But once again, right task, right activity. Check results and the follow-up, which brings us to this concept of how we should, in fact, delegate. I know, like this young lady said, I don't have anyone to delegate to. You will, eventually. All of us in here. Some of you are delegators. The point is, you got to figure out what those goals are. Much like we said before with the natural planning method. What's the goal of this? Promote discovery. What I always do with folks that I'm working with is challenge them to say, look, I've done it this way a certain amount of time. I'm not married to anything. I know there's this natural inclination, like we said before, no one can do it as good as I would. It's the only way it should be done. Well, the reality is, stay in these guardrails and we'll be okay. But what we need to make sure of is we don't stifle them. For instance, I've had many young consultants do something. I've said, okay, do this. And I'll immediately gonna go, oh, I hope it looks just exactly the way I wanted it to do. They come back and it doesn't. My knee-jerk reaction is, oh crap, they went off the script. They went outside of that lane. But then I start reading it or going through their thought process and why, and I go, you know what? Man, I should have been doing it like this for the last 15 years. To save me time, it looks better than I could ever do it. But because for so long a lot of us go, only I could do it this way, we get so paranoid. We got to shed that. And that's tough. That's tough because it's trust. We trust it's going to get done. Which brings me to 5 dysfunctions of a team. What was one of the first elements of 5 dysfunctions of a team?
Lack of trust.
So when we talk about trust, that's this benchmark that if I give you the ball, you're not going to fumble it. So trust runs both ways. Plan the action, authorize and empower. This concept of authorization and empowerment, the more leash I give you, it's based on the trust thing. If you screw up this thing, that leash just got longer. On the other hand, we want to continue to allow people to evolve. And then lastly, the recap. And I think, to be honest with you, and word to the wise, because I probably screw this up all the time, the recap. We're so bloody busy. We don't come back, meet with the team and go, hey, look, I know we're going a million miles an hour, but did you get why we were doing what we're doing? Did you know why you reviewed the submittals the way we kind of needed to? To make sure there was discovery. To make sure they understood why they were doing it and didn't feel like it was just the job that you didn't want to do. So, got a little case study that I want you to talk about at your table for a moment. We've got You are the executive, so I promoted everyone in here to job executive. Congratulations. You're in the commercial department of We Build It Construction. You were recently placed in charge of 2 new hires, a village idiot from Auburn University and a more experienced project engineer with approximately 3 years experience.
From UGA.
From UGA. From Florida, what are you talking about? So,
Roll Tide.
I knew I opened Pandora's box with this one. So we got this one really young cat from Auburn University. We've also got this more mid-level person. I want you to look through. Obviously, you notice I didn't give you what they'd be doing, because I care less about that. I want you to talk at your table and say, what happens when one of these folks makes a mistake? What type of task would you delegate to person A or person B? Why would it be important to delegate? And lastly, how much oversight should you be providing? So take some time to talk about that. What would you do with A and B person?